Hi friends, Flavio here. Somebody asked me the other day if I could summarize everything that we do. What is Life Mastery Academy about? What is it that we do therapeutically, coaching? What is it that we do at the school when we teach the mysticism and metaphysics classes? What is the summary? What brings it all together? What unites it all? Can I summarize it all? And I said, yeah, it's basically simple. Think about it this way. Look at your body for a second. Think of the very bottom of the body. I don't mean the feet, I mean the bottom of the body. And think of the top of the body, your head. And then think of the middle of it, your heart. So we have 3 points there. The bottom, the top, and the middle, your heart. So we are all driven by these 3 different forces manifested in these 3 different points in the body. Let me tell you what happens. When the baby is born, when you and I were born, we were driven by the heart. Meaning our soul, our spirituality, our connection to the divine, our feelings, our dreams. The world, gradually, as we become educated, as we become, proficient in the world, we learn to follow instructions from the outside in. We learn to be guided by our heads. You see, we do what we're told. So everything that we have been told and experienced in our lives goes into the mind. The circumstances of your childhood, where you were born, what country, what your parents did, what they told you, what happened to you, all of those experiences amount to a suggestion, if you will, that is loaded up in this computer called the mind. And in a given situation of stress or uncertainty, we resort to that particular database and says, okay, do this because that's what you've been told. We resort to what we know, what we're used to, what's being programmed in there. That's the mind. Those are the cerebral people. Those are the people who are intellectuals, and they follow instructions. Simultaneous to that, we're animals, basically. We're biological beings that respond to pleasure and pain. So pleasure and pain has nothing to do with the mind. It's completely visceral. It's completely unconscious. We don't even know what's hurting. We don't even know. You see, we don't know what's going on. It's not mental. It is visceral. And that has to do with the bottom of the body, the root chakra, pleasure and pain. So we're driven by this idea that we have to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And so we seek people, we engage in experiences, we do all kinds of things external to our being, external to our hearts in order to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Now, what happens as we begin to grow up in this world is that by following instructions, by doing what we're told to do, and by seeking pleasure and pain, you see, we begin to move away from our heart. And what that does, and those 2 forces, you see, the mind and the root, those 2 forces compete with one another. And this is why people become disturbed sometimes. They say, well, I feel like doing this, but I know it's not right. And you say, well, how do you know that? Well, I've been told this or being told that. You see, there's a competition between the mind and the body, essentially. But that competition in of itself becomes a decoy and a distraction that pulls us away from our true destiny, which you can only find by following your heart. Following the heart is completely different from what people think it is. For instance, in therapy, people come over and they say to me, well, I want to follow my heart, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do. And they talk about their desire. You see, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want this or if I want that. They're not. The word want, the concept of desire, is really, and their uncertainty is really a signal that they're competing between their root desires and their mental programming, but they're not accessing the heart. There is no doubt, there is no uncertainty, and there is no desire at the level of the heart. Pay attention to this. In the Christian faith, there's something called Our Father, this prayer. And the prayer begins by saying, Our Father who art in heaven, let your will be done. The person who's heart-centered, they give up their will. So to the outside world, to the programmed world, to the world of the root and pleasure and pain, it looks like those people they left the race. They're not driven. It's not it. They're preparing themselves to listen to the voice of their hearts. You see, your will be done. And they're consciously giving up their will the whole time. And they're constantly listening to the voice of God, if you will, which is manifested through their heart. I'm telling you, 1% of the people at any given time on this earth will embark on that path. That path is not for the faint of heart. Most people are educated to follow a path which they intercalate with their pleasures and pains. I remember I met a woman who was an intellectual. She was a literature major in college. She had a very high-paying job. And anyway, and she came over and we were discussing all of her troubles. And she says, well, I work really hard, but I play really hard. And I said, what does that mean? I work hard, but I play hard. And she starts describing her life, which she describes as ultimately miserable. Not my words, her words. In other words, on the surface, I work hard and I play hard. You see, what she's basically saying is I alternate between my mind and my root. Playing hard means that she has fun, and having fun means basically intoxicating herself with the physical, the external world, but running away from her heart. And in time, that produces a feeling of void, a feeling of emptiness, that just like any other addiction, it takes more and more stimulation from the outside world to fill the void. We cannot be alone. We cannot think. We cannot have a deep moment of introspection and just sit silent with somebody. We need to be filling the time, checking the phone. We got to be doing something, because God forbid, a moment of silence can be threatening. What if I feel my heart? What if I feel that I'm not living my life? So 1% of the people are willing to do this. 1% of the people in general are willing to say, your will be done. The rest of the population is saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want, this is what I'm being told, this is the path I'm following my dreams, I'm setting goals. Listen, with all the respect, from the perspective that I'm talking, I set goals too, and we have to work at that level as well. But every time you set a goal, whose goal are you setting? You see, notice that the whole notion of setting a goal and being productive in that sense of the word is contrary to your will be done. So the people who are willing to really take God up on this, your will be done, initially they appear to the outside world like they are less good or less productive, because they're not responding to those programs. They're not responding to the outside stimuli. They're not being driven by pleasure and pain, and they're not being driven by what the world tells them is good. So from the perspective of the world, it's like, what are you doing? You see? But just like the Chinese bamboo, you know about the Chinese bamboo, you plant one today, the first 4 or 5 years, nothing happens. Maybe a little leaf comes out of the ground. But then on the 4th, 5th year, it can grow 80 feet a year. How's that possible? What happened during those previous 4 years? Well, the plant was taking root to do God's will. Your will be done. So the people that end up responding to this message are the people who are on the same path, and they're having trouble because they know that something is not quite right with this life that we've been told to live, but they're not quite sure where to go. Well, that's where I come into your life. That's why you're seeing this video right now. Because I've been there, done that, I can show you what to do, how to get in touch with your heart and follow your path, and essentially live the life that you came to this world to live. Listen, there is magic in life, and we're just getting started. Thank you.